The world changed forever on August 6, 1945, at 8:15 a.m. A blinding flash seared the sky over Hiroshima, Japan. The roar that followed shook the earth. A mushroom cloud, ominous and swirling, rose high above the city. The atomic bomb, a weapon of unimaginable power, had announced its arrival, marking a turning point in human history. Hiroshima, a bustling city of 350,000, vanished in an instant. Buildings crumbled into dust, people vaporized, leaving only shadows etched on walls, the air filled with the cries of the wounded and the dying. The world watched in horror as news of the devastation spread. The atomic bombing of Hiroshima was a tragedy on an unprecedented scale. It forced humanity to confront the terrible consequences of its own ingenuity. The world had entered the atomic age, forever marked by the shadow of Hiroshima. The atomic bombing of Hiroshima was the culmination of years of escalating conflict. World War II had ravaged the globe, leaving millions dead and countless cities in ruins. Japan, allied with Germany and Italy, had become a formidable power in the Pacific. The war in the Pacific was particularly brutal. Japanese forces fought with tenacity, often refusing to surrender. Allied forces faced fierce resistance in battles like Iwo Jima and Okinawa. The conflict exacted a heavy toll on both sides. By 1945, the tide of the war had turned. Germany had surrendered in May. Japan, however, vowed to fight on. The use of the atomic bomb emerged from a complex interplay of factors: a desire to end the war quickly, a fear of further Allied casualties, and a demonstration of American military might. The immediate aftermath of the Hiroshima bombing was a scene of unimaginable horror. The bomb's blast wave flattened buildings for miles. Intense heat ignited firestorms that raged through the city. Those who survived the initial blast faced a gruesome fate. Thousands suffered from severe burns. Others developed radiation sickness, a mysterious and debilitating illness. Hospitals, overwhelmed with the injured and dying, struggled to cope. The air was thick with the smell of burning flesh and the sound of human suffering. The human cost of the bombing was staggering. An estimated 70,000 people died instantly. Thousands more succumbed to injuries and radiation sickness in the weeks and months that followed. The true death toll may never be known. Section 4. The diplomatic tightrope: missed opportunities for peace. The decision to use the atomic bomb remains a subject of intense debate. It was a moment that changed the course of history, leaving an indelible mark on the collective conscience of humanity. Some argue that it was a necessary evil, a last resort to end the war and save lives. They believe it hastened the end of a brutal conflict that had already claimed millions of lives. Others contend that it was a morally reprehensible act, a war crime that could have been avoided. They point to the immense suffering and long-term consequences faced by the survivors. There were diplomatic avenues that could have been explored. Some historians argue that more time and effort could have been invested in negotiations to reach a peaceful resolution. Japan, though reluctant to accept unconditional surrender, was facing mounting losses. The relentless bombing campaigns and the Soviet Union's impending entry into the war put immense pressure on Japanese leadership. The Soviet Union, neutral in the Pacific War, was poised to enter the conflict against Japan. This added a new dimension to the already complex geopolitical landscape. The Potsdam Declaration, issued in July 1945, called for Japan's unconditional surrender. It was a final ultimatum, a last-ditch effort to avoid further bloodshed. The declaration, however, was met with a lukewarm response from Japanese leaders. They were divided and uncertain, grappling with the dire situation they found themselves in. The decision to use the atomic bomb, while debated at the highest levels, ultimately rested with President Harry Truman, who inherited the mantle of leadership after Franklin D. Roosevelt's death. Truman's choice would forever alter the course of history and the future of warfare. Section 5. Echoes of Hiroshima. Lessons on war and the fragile peace. Hiroshima stands as a stark reminder of the human cost of war. It underscores the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression and the importance of pursuing peace. The bombing ushered in the atomic age, an era defined by the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. The lessons of Hiroshima extend beyond the battlefield. It highlights the need for diplomacy, dialogue, and understanding between nations. It underscores the shared humanity of all people, regardless of nationality or ideology. Hiroshima also serves as a call to action. It compels us to work towards a world free from the threat of nuclear weapons. Organizations like the United Nations and the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, or ICAN, are striving for a world where the horrors of Hiroshima are never repeated. Section 6. Survivors' tales bearing witness to history's wounds. The true horror of Hiroshima is best understood through the personal stories of its survivors. These narratives provide a window into the unimaginable suffering and the resilience that followed. These hibakusha, as they are known in Japan, carry the physical and emotional scars of that fateful day. Their bodies and minds are living archives of the devastation. Their stories are testaments to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring legacy of the bombing. Each account is a powerful reminder of the strength and courage it takes to rebuild lives from the ashes. One survivor, a young girl at the time, recalls the blinding flash and the deafening roar. She describes the moment as if the world had ended in an instant. She remembers the searing heat and the sight of her city reduced to rubble. The once vibrant streets were now a landscape of desolation. She speaks of the long and painful recovery, the lingering effects of radiation sickness and the loss of loved ones. The emotional scars, she says, are just as deep as the physical ones. Another survivor, a doctor, describes the chaos and despair that engulfed the city's hospitals. He talks about the overwhelming number of patients and the lack of resources. He recounts the horrors he witnessed, the sheer number of casualties, and the agonizing deaths of countless victims. The memories of those days haunt him still. These stories, filled with pain and loss, serve as powerful reminders of the human cost of war. They urge us to remember, to reflect, and to strive for a world where such tragedies never happen again. Section 7. Remembering Hiroshima, a legacy for the future. 75 years after the bombing, Hiroshima is a city rebuilt. The once devastated landscape has transformed into a bustling metropolis, a testament to human resilience and the will to move forward. The Peace Memorial Park, built on the site of the explosion, stands as a poignant reminder of the devastation and a symbol of hope for a peaceful future. It is a place where the past and present converge, urging us to reflect on the consequences of war. The park is home to several memorials, museums, and peace monuments that educate visitors about the bombing and its aftermath. Each monument tells a story, each museum exhibits a lesson, all contributing to a collective memory. The Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum houses artifacts from the bombing, including melted watches, tattered clothing, and photographs of the victims. These items serve as powerful reminders of the human cost of nuclear warfare. The museum's mission is to document the horrors of the atomic bombing, to remember the victims, and to promote peace and nuclear disarmament. It stands as a beacon of hope, advocating for a world free from the threat of nuclear weapons. The legacy of Hiroshima is a complex one. It is a narrative woven with threads of sorrow and strength, a story that continues to resonate across generations. It is a story of devastation and loss, but also of resilience and hope. The survivors, known as hibakusha, share their experiences to ensure that the world remembers and learns. It is a reminder of the terrible consequences of war and the importance of pursuing peace. The annual Peace Memorial ceremonies serve as a solemn reminder of the past and a call to action for the future. It is a call to action for all nations to work together to prevent such tragedies from ever happening again. Diplomats and leaders gather to discuss and promote global peace initiatives inspired by Hiroshima's legacy. The world must never forget Hiroshima. The eternal flame in the Peace Memorial Park burns as a symbol of our collective commitment to peace and the enduring memory of those who suffered.